It's time for the Bison Beat with KSJB Sports Director Kyle Dean and voice of the Bison, Jeff Culhane. Brought to you by First Class Aviation Maintenance and Flight School and FTC of Lisbon, North Dakota. Now, here's Kyle Dean and Jeff Culhane.
All right, we are here in the Buffalo Mall in Jamestown, North Dakota for today's Bison Beat. And on the phone with us, of course, every week, it's the voice of the Bison himself, Jeff Culhane. Hey, Jeff, how you doing today?
Kyle, how are you doing? It sounds like you've got a little precipitation there in Jamestown. It's headed our way.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's a little bit of rain, not too much, but it's Wednesday, and it's kind of fun when you play football in the rain, though. I've always played football in the rain.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. A little, the cooler weather. It means it's football weather. So that's what it's all about.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot of stuff to get on today's show, and we're going to start things off since the NFL season is starting already tomorrow, if you can believe it. We're going to talk about some pro Bison, and I guess, Jeff, the main one that everybody's been talking about this week is Carson Wentz. How about that?
Kyle, it's pretty impressive. What a change of pace, right? I mean, goodness, we were having the conversation a few weeks ago about when or if Carson will play in his rookie season with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then, just as everybody is getting ready to watch college football on Saturday, boom, the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles put together a blockbuster trade that brings Sam Bradford to the Vikings, and it speeds up the process and the timeline for Carson Wentz. Monday, Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Eagles, made the announcement that Carson will start. Chase Daniel will be his backup, and I guess we've got our answer to that million-dollar question, when will Carson play? Well, it's going to be right away. So congratulations to him. The entire state of North Dakota will be watching on Sunday at noon at Lincoln Financial Field when the Eagles take on the Cleveland Browns. And Carson Wentz against former Heisman Trophy winner Robert Griffin III. Just a unique feel when you say that, and also just it gives you goosebumps when you say Carson Wentz is the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles on opening day, on the first game of the year. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's great for him, there's no doubt.
Yes, we're going to be excited on that. And, he was injured. He only played one preseason game, so I don't think he's going to be affected at all since he was injured for last season for the Bison. He came back and did very well, so I don't think the injury is going to have any factor on Sunday.
Well, he's a tough guy. He's a tough kid, and, yeah, you're right. I mean, he broke his wrist last year and played through it in the USD game. I think he's going to be good to go. The one thing that could affect him is missing the time and missing some of those reps during preseason. But you read some of the reports out of Philadelphia. Carson was in the team facility before anybody else was on Monday at 5:45 a.m. He was in the facility on Tuesday during the Eagles' day off. He's getting after it. Carson Wentz is locked in, focused, and everything you hear about Carson is he doesn't allow the moment to be too big. He doesn't lose focus of what's important and what's in front of him. He's got the right mentality, and if there's anyone that can handle this quick change of pace, it's Carson Wentz.
And the best story about this is that he was hunting when he got the word. How about that?
Hunting geese in a cornfield in New Jersey. If that's not a North Dakota boy, I don't know what is, right?
That's a perfect example right there from a North Dakota-grown boy playing some NFL football. Now, Jeff, there's other Bison that we have to talk about in the NFL. C.J. Smith, let's hit on him a little bit. He's also another Eagle.
He's an Eagle. C.J. Smith had a crazy 48 hours as well. I think it was Saturday, we were told that he was going to be on the actual 53-man roster, and then 24 hours later we found out that he got waived to provide room for other players to be moved in and shuffled around. And then on Monday, we were able to find out that CJ was back on the practice squad. So, I'm not sure if the Eagles laid all of this out for him. I hope they did, because if not, he probably aged 5 to 10 years in that 48-hour period. But C.J. Smith's on the Eagles practice squad. He may even move up and be a part of their 53-man roster at some point. They're shuffling their secondary around. I would not be shocked to see that with C.J. very shortly. And also Andrew Bonnet, who had a good preseason with the Cincinnati Bengals. Mm-hmm. He was on their depth chart as their backup fullback at one point. He got cut, but he's on the practice squad now with the Eagles as well. So you've got 3 former Bison in Philadelphia right now, and that's a pretty cool deal right there.
And some of the few others, since we have a few more moments here, there's Joe Hagan, the Colts, for the Colts. Kyle Emanuel, he's the starting linebacker, if I'm not mistaken, for San Diego. And then also Crockett for the Packers. There's a lot of pro Bison out there, Jeff.
Well, Billy Turner as well with the Miami Dolphins. I mean, there's a number of guys, and I know we're missing a couple right now, but the Bison are well represented at the next level. Joe Haig, if he can continue to stay healthy, that'd be great. I think he'll have a very successful NFL career. You mentioned Kyle Emanuel. Same goes for him. He's the starting outside linebacker in the 3-4 scheme for the San Diego Chargers, and he's actually working under and being coached by former Bison head coach Bob Babich, who is the linebackers coach out at San Diego as well. So cool Bison tie there. And then you mentioned John Crockett, who's in Green Bay. Unfortunately, he got injured and is on injured reserve, but looks like the Packers are going to protect him, and he hopefully will have a shot to get healthy and play with them later in the season. So there's a lot of guys out there. It just attests to what this program is doing, how these coaches and the strength staff and everyone around it are developing these guys, and how they're ready to play at the next level is pretty impressive.
Yes, it's a lot of fun, definitely for all the listeners. And now we've been talking about NFL for the last few moments here, Jeff. And now let's get to the previous matchups from last week, since the Bison had a bye week, but there was a lot going on in the FCS versus the FBS. Some of them, South Dakota State University and Eastern Washington. What can you tell us about those matchups, since the Bison were watching these games?
Yeah, there were 3 big wins I thought that jumped out. One was Richmond out of the Colonial. They took it to Virginia of the ACC and beat them rather handily in Charlottesville. And then Northern Iowa looked really good against Iowa State, ruining Matt Campbell's debut at Jack Trice Stadium down in Ames. South Dakota State may have been the most impressive of the weekend in a loss, as they played right with TCU all the way up until the end before losing 59-41. Couldn't really get a stop against the Horned Frogs. And then Eastern Washington, who comes in here on Saturday, they go into Pullman and defeat Washington State, winning 45-42, accumulate over 600 yards of total offense. Their quarterback, Gage Gubrud, in his first start, was named the Big Sky Offensive Player of the Week. He set a school record for total offense. And Cooper Kupp, who is a wide receiver we've talked a lot about, who's a big-time player, he'll play on Sundays as well. He set the all-time FCS touchdown receptions mark with 3 scores to put him at 59 career touchdown receptions all time, a new record. So, yes, some impressive performances from FCS teams out there. Just goes to show you that teams are getting better. Teams are locked in as they try to knock the Bison off the top of the mountain in the FCS world.
And you know what? It's exciting that these FCS teams versus FBS teams, honestly, there's barely any difference now since they're playing each other, and it's been close for the last few years, hasn't it?
Well, you always have a few victories sprinkled in there. The FCS has some very talented football players. The biggest difference between the two levels is just the depth. The overall 85 scholarships for FBS, 63 for FCS. But when you put the ones versus the ones out there, at times there's not a whole lot of difference, and I think we saw that last weekend.
All right. Well, we are talking actually with Jeff Culhane here, the voice of the Bison. When we come back, Jeff, we'll be talking about the upcoming matchup for the Bison, and of course, we'll break it all down coming up here on the Bison Beats here on KSJB.
Did you ever look to the skies and dream of flying an airplane? Quit dreaming and contact First Class Aviation to schedule your discovery flight, where a first-class instructor will take you up in one of their airplanes. Call 952-1515, 952-1515. Aircraft maintenance is also available. Just call to schedule your aircraft. And they offer aircraft rental, too. Owners are NDSU Bison team makers at First Class Aviation, Flight School, and Aircraft Maintenance at Jamestown Airport. Go Bison!
Don't give up on your soybeans too early. Hi, I'm Darren Hefty with Hefty Seed Company. Far too often we see yield left on the table because either the growing season just wore people down, or they simply were tired of spending more money. If a $5 investment turned into $10 to $40 in a month, would you do it? To find these opportunities, keep scouting your fields all the way until the soybeans start to turn yellow. There's a potential for a very nice crop Don't leave yield on the table by giving up on your soybeans too early. Call 1-800-27-HEFTY for the answers to your agronomic questions.
We are back here on the Bison Beats. Kyle Dean here with you, joined by Jeff Culhane, where he's broadcasting from Fargo, and the voice of the Bison. Jeff, hope you're having a great day for today, and you're ready for Bison football this weekend, aren't you?
Well, I'll tell you what, Kyle, I was talking to Chase Morlock on our show here in Fargo today, and I think he wanted to put a shoulder into me and run me over. He's ready to play. I think the Bison are ready to play. I'm ready to call a game again, so looking forward to Saturday.
And you had an awesome opening week for your first game. Then you have a bye, and then you have another huge opponent coming in. So it's just like you're ready to get into the flow where there's a game every Saturday, aren't you?
Man, I tell you, it's and then next week we go to Iowa, who's the top 10 team in the FBS. So we've been really, really fortunate with this schedule from a broadcast perspective, and the fans, I think, are going to need to pop the heart pressure medication, the blood pressure medication this week and next, because you got some great teams that the Bison are playing. Everybody's gunning for NDSU in the FCS rank, and you better believe next week when we go to Iowa City, the Hawkeyes will know all about NDSU and we'll be ready to play.
Oh, yes. I'm excited for next week's game, too. But now we have a very huge matchup coming up here between Eastern Washington and NDSU. What have you noticed for the matchups and the game plan for the Bison and, I guess, for both teams?
Well, I think you look at it, there's two sides to this, Kyle. I think one, Eastern Washington offensively, it might be the best group of wide receivers the Bison have faced at Gate City Bank Field at the Fargo Dome. Led by Cooper Kupp. It's not just a one-man show. They've got other very good players. Kendrick Bourne is a 6'3" wide receiver who's a two-time All-Big Sky selection. Shaq Hill is sort of that smaller player that's in the slot who's also the return man. He had a nice game versus Eastern Washington with 7 catches for right around 120 yards. He also is coming off of injury. He scored the Eagles' first touchdown of the season last year at Oregon in that game before he was lost for the year with an injury. So he is back, and they have some very good running backs as well, and a newcomer by the name of Antoine Custer, who played high school football in the great high school program, De La Salle High School in Southern California. So they've got talented skill guys. Their quarterback's name is Gage Gubrud. Made his first career start and couldn't have been a better start for him, setting a new school record for total offense, breaking Vernon Adams' record set against Oregon State back in 2013. So offensively, they're very good. Now, on the flip side, defensively, they're a group that struggled mightily a year ago. They gave up right around 40 points per game under defensive coordinator Jeff Schmedding. They were decent this last weekend. They did enough to allow their team to win a game, but I don't think they've seen the physicality up front the Bison are going to show them on Saturday. North Dakota State really needs to impose their will, run the football, keep Eastern Washington's offense off the field, and dictate time of possession just like they have done during this championship run a year ago, led the nation in time of possession with nearly 37 minutes of clock. So that's going to be a big key to this ball game. The Bison have to run the football. They have to be better on third down, only at 41% last week. If they can do that and get some early scores in this game and make Eastern Washington play catch-up, they're going to win this game on Saturday.
And the good news is it's in Fargo, and I believe the fans, they have to wear gold this weekend, right?
It's a gold rush, yep. It's a gold rush once again. I'm being told, Kyle, that that's going to be the name of the game for every home game this season. So keep the gold clean if you're a Bison fan. When you come to Gate City Bank Field, make sure you wear the gold. So, it's a gold rush on Saturday. And Chris Kleiman told me during his coach's show Monday night that he feels like the fans can be a huge part of this football game. Nearly 19,000 rabid, crazy Bison fans can really cause some problems, he feels, for Eastern Washington because of the way they communicate. They like to play up tempo. They like to get up to the ball and snap it and get the ball out and make things happen in a hurry. So if the fan base, if Bison Nation can get crazy Saturday like they always have and will continue to do, they will be a big factor in this game as well.
And of course, don't forget about all the fans that listen on the Bison Radio Network. Before we go, Jeff, when is the pregame show and when is kickoff?
Yeah, pregame will start at 2 o'clock. So lock in right here, 2 p.m. on Saturday. Kickoff set for 2:30 on the Peterson Farm Seed Bison Radio Network.
All right. Well, once again, thank you very much, Jeff Culhane, and we will talk to you next week. Enjoy your weekend and have lots of fun calling the game this weekend.
Thank you, Kyle. We'll talk to you next Wednesday. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, see you later. That's once again voice of the Bison, Jeff Culhane, for today's Bison Beat.